Hi, my name is Sophie, I'm 32 years old, and I work as a project manager at a large company. Today I'm going to share something very personal with you, something that changed my life in a way I never imagined. I'm going to tell you the story of how I ended up cheating on my husband. It wasn't something I planned, and I never thought this could happen to me, but the circumstances led me to cross a line I never thought I would. So, get ready, because I'm going to share it all with you. It was a Friday night, and everyone was relaxed, enjoying the chance to unwind outside the work environment. The music played softly in the background as colleagues chatted animatedly and shared laughter. In today's video, I'm going to tell you what happened between me and my boss. I'm sharing it all with you here. I was near the bar, sipping a drink, when my boss, John, approached me. John was a charming man with an aura of confidence that always drew attention. He smiled at me, a smile that seemed innocent but carried a hint of mischief. We started talking about various topics, from company projects to our favorite sports. At some point, the conversation turned to soccer, a passion we both shared, which always sparked friendly competition between us. John, a fan of my rival team, suggested we make a bet on who would win the upcoming weekend's soccer match. The idea of rivalry excited me even more, and I felt confident about my team. I accepted immediately. The light-hearted, fun atmosphere made the bet seem like just another playful exchange between friends. "What should we bet?" I asked jokingly, expecting John to suggest something simple like buying lunch on Monday. But with a playful glint in his eyes, he replied, "Whoever loses will have to do whatever the winner chooses." At that moment, I didn't realize how uncertain or even dangerous this bet could be. The drinks and the laid-back vibe of the party lowered my guard, and I agreed without a second thought. Amid the conversations and laughter, I was sure my team would win, so I didn't worry much about what John might ask for. It all felt like a harmless game to make the weekend more interesting. On Sunday, I watched the game eagerly, but soon saw that my team was losing. By the end, my team had lost. A cold chill ran through me as I remembered the bet, but still, part of me believed John wouldn't ask for anything beyond a silly or embarrassing task. On Monday, when I arrived at work, John was waiting for me with a friendly yet mysterious smile. He reminded me of the bet. Trying to keep the mood light, I asked what he wanted me to do. That's when he, with a serious but mischievous look, said, "I want you to have dinner with me without telling your husband, David." That caught me completely off guard. It was not what I expected. Suddenly, what had been a harmless joke took a much more serious turn. In that moment, I felt a whirlwind of emotions, surprise, discomfort, and a strange excitement. The idea of doing something secret, something that broke the rules, was both terrifying and intriguing. John looked at me, waiting for my answer, and I knew that refusing wasn't an option. The embarrassment of backing out and the pressure of the moment made me agree. I nodded, trying to hide my nerves. Little did I know that this decision would be the start of a series of events that would change my life in unexpected ways. On the night of the dinner, I was a bundle of nerves. I spent the whole day trying to focus on work, but my mind was completely consumed by the anxiety and anticipation of what was to come. When I got home, I went straight to the shower, hoping to relax and prepare for the evening. I chose a sleek navy blue dress that subtly highlighted my curves without being too provocative. It was important to keep things as professional as possible, at least at the start. While doing my makeup, my thoughts raced. What did John want from this dinner? Why had he picked me for this bet? My hands trembled slightly as I applied mascara, and I had to take several deep breaths to calm myself. My heart was pounding when I finished. Satisfied with how I looked, I grabbed my purse and headed out. I arrived at the restaurant a few minutes before the agreed time. It was a sophisticated place with an intimate atmosphere, soft lighting, and relaxing background music. John was already there, seated in a more secluded corner. He stood up when he saw me and greeted me with a warm smile. His presence had a confidence that was both comforting and intriguing. During the dinner, John was the perfect gentleman. He pulled out my chair, made subtle compliments, and had me laughing with his funny stories. With each passing minute, I felt more at ease, and the initial tension began to fade. Naturally, we started by talking about work, but as the conversation flowed, it shifted to more personal topics. We talked about our dreams, fears, and even our families. At some point, I realized I was enjoying the attention John was giving me. He made me feel like I was the only person in the world at that moment. His eyes shone with genuine interest, and his words were always carefully chosen to make me feel good. As time passed, John began to compliment me more personally. How my smile lit up the room, how my presence was captivating. I knew we were crossing professional lines, but I couldn't help the pleasure his words brought me. It was intoxicating. The story is not over yet. Please consider subscribing. In the midst of shared laughter, our eyes locked in a way that made my heart race. There was an intensity there, a silent connection that said more than any words could express. My body reacted instantly, feeling a mix of nerves and excitement. With each passing moment, it became more evident that this dinner was becoming something far more personal and intimate than I had anticipated. The night continued with more laughter, conversation, and a growing closeness. When it was time for dessert, John suggested that we share a bowl of ice cream with chocolate sauce. The simple act of sharing dessert became a symbol of our connection, loaded with meaning. The dinner ended, but I knew the story was far from over. From that moment on, things would never be the same. John had awakened something in me that I could no longer ignore. I left the restaurant with my heart pounding, knowing that night was just the beginning of something much more complicated and intense. After dinner, John suggested we go to a quiet bar he knew, where we could continue our conversation in a more relaxed setting. I accepted, still feeling the warmth of our connection from dinner. The small bar was charming, with soft lights and ambient music creating an intimate atmosphere. We chose a table in a more private corner where we could talk without interruptions. John ordered 2 glasses of wine. I was a little nervous, but the wine helped me relax. As we talked, he began making bolder compliments, commenting on my beauty and intelligence in a way that made me blush, but also feel flattered. I felt my cheeks heat up with every compliment, and my heart raced faster. After a few drinks, the atmosphere in the bar grew even more intimate. The soft music and dim lights created an almost magical aura, where everything seemed possible, and my inhibitions began to fade away. John looked at me with that same glint in his eyes, and each time he spoke, his words seemed to wrap around me like a cloak of seduction. The wine loosened my defenses, and I felt more relaxed, more open to his advances. The conversation became more personal, and he began to compliment not only my appearance, but also my intelligence and sense of humor. I could feel my heart beating faster with every compliment, my face warming with the mix of embarrassment and pleasure. For a moment, John leaned in, just inches from my face. His voice was low and soft as he said, "Sophie, I can't stop thinking about you." Those words caught me by surprise, and before I could respond, he placed his hand over mine. The touch was gentle but full of intent, and a shiver ran down my spine. After a few more drinks, I found myself giving in to John's advances. The excitement of the moment, the undeniable chemistry between us, and the mild intoxication from the alcohol made me forget my reservations. He suggested we leave, and I agreed without hesitation. When we got to his car, my heart was pounding. John opened the door for me, and as soon as I got in, he moved closer, closing the door behind him. The small space of the car was electric. John turned towards me, and before I could say anything, he kissed me. His lips were warm and urgent against mine, and a wave of pleasure rushed through me. My heart was beating so fast, I could hear it in my ears, and for a moment, all my worries disappeared. The kiss was intense and passionate, and I responded in kind. His hands explored my body, every touch sending waves of heat through me. I knew this could have serious consequences, that I was playing with fire, but I couldn't resist. There was something about him, something in the way he made me feel, that was simply irresistible. We became entangled there in the car, the kisses growing more urgent, the touches bolder. Despite the passion of the moment, there was a line I wasn't willing to cross. I held my boundaries, not allowing things to go too far. John seemed to understand this, respecting my signals without pushing. Still, the intensity of the moment was enough to leave a lasting impression. When we finally pulled apart, both of us breathless, the air between us was thick with unfulfilled desire. John looked into my eyes, and I could see a mix of satisfaction and frustration in his expression. "Sophie, you're incredible," he said, his voice husky with emotion. "I want more moments like this with you." I knew this wasn't going to end there. I had crossed a line, and there was no turning back. As I drove home, my mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. I felt overwhelming guilt, but at the same time, a thrill I couldn't ignore. What had started as an innocent bet had turned into something far more complicated and dangerous, and I was about to discover where this path would lead me. When I got home, my mind was still in turmoil from the night's events. It had been intense and full of conflicting emotions. As I drove through the quiet streets, I tried to process everything that had happened. The guilt gnawed at me from the inside, but at the same time, the excitement of that forbidden experience lingered in my mind. I felt trapped in a moral dilemma where every choice seemed wrong in some way. When I finally arrived home, I saw the lights were still off. David, my husband, hadn't come back yet. That gave me a small sense of relief, as I wasn't sure if I could face him in that moment. I went straight to the bathroom, looking at my reflection in the mirror, searching for any sign of change, something that would reveal what had happened. But to the outside world, I looked the same. I took a quick shower, as if the water could wash away the guilt I felt, dressed in my pajamas, and lay down in bed. But sleep didn't come easily. I stared at the ceiling, replaying the events of the night over and over in my mind, feeling my heart tighten with each memory of John's kiss. When I finally heard David come in, I closed my eyes and pretended to be asleep. I wasn't ready to face his questions or his presence. In the days that followed, John acted normally at work, as if nothing had happened. However, every time we met, there was a flash of complicity, a silent understanding of what we had shared. Those glances constantly reminded me of the line I had crossed and kept me in a state of constant tension and anxiety. At work, I tried to maintain a professional front, but inside, guilt and excitement mixed, creating a heavy weight to bear. Every time I saw David, my heart sank with the secret I was keeping. He looked at me with so much love and trust that I felt like an imposter. I tried to act normal, but I knew I was failing. There was an invisible wall between us, built by my own actions. The guilt was overwhelming. At night, while David slept beside me, I stayed awake, lost in my thoughts. I tried to justify my actions, but deep down, I knew there was no excuse for what I had done. The memory of John's touch and kisses kept coming back, intensifying my confusion. Every time John looked at me with that look of complicity, I felt a shiver of anticipation. I knew he still wanted more, and that excited me in a way I couldn't explain. Despite the guilt, a part of me craved more. Living with this secret became a constant battle. At work, my interactions with John were an emotional roller coaster. Every accidental touch, every whispered word, carried immense weight, and each time I returned home, the pressure increased. David didn't deserve this, and I knew I had to make a decision. But I was trapped in a cycle of desire and regret. The dangerous line I had crossed no longer felt like a mere momentary transgression. It was a path that would change my life forever. Every day, the choice between desire and morality became clearer. But for now, I was caught in a whirlwind of emotions, struggling to find a way out of the mess I had created. So, after hearing my story, I'm curious to know your thoughts. Have you ever been in a similar situation? Have you ever thought about cheating or maybe even gone through with it? I'd love to know what you would do if you were in my shoes. Leave your comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos. See you next time.